Okay, so hello everybody. M says there's just reminding about the YouTube and Discord spaces. And today we're gonna be doing the seventh section of the precious treasury of the basic space of phenomenon by Longchenpa. For me, this is page 53. Hmm. Okay, so is the audio okay right here? Thank you, thank you. All right. So may this reading bring benefit to all beings. The transmission of awakened mind, spontaneously present by nature, is the summit of the most majestic mountain, not created, yet ensuring that all has ultimate meaning. Exalted above all, it is the supreme and most majestic spiritual approach. Once one has reached the summit of a majestic mountain, one can see the valleys below all at once, while from the valleys one cannot see what it is like at the summit. Similarly, Ati, the Vajra heart essence, is the pinnacle spiritual approach and sees what is meaningful in all others, while the lower approaches cannot see its ultimate meaning. Therefore, it is the pinnacle, the peak experience, which is spontaneously present. It is like a great wish fulfilling gem that, if prayed to, ensures all that is wished for as a matter of course. Such is not the case for ordinary things. Since the Vajra heart essence is the spontaneous presence of the three kayas, Buddhahood is ensured, in and of itself, within the basic space of natural rest. It does not require effort or achievement. That is its superiority. Although those in lower approaches strive through acceptance and rejection, they accomplish nothing for eons. What a great debility. Awakened mind, timelessly spontaneous and uniform awareness, the spacious nature of phenomenon, just as it is, the naturally settled state, is Dharmakaya by nature, the expanse of primordial equalness. It is present in everyone, but within the reach of only a fortunate few. If left just as it is innately ensured within that context. Sambhogakaya, infinitely pervasive, naturally lucid, and spontaneously present, is present in everyone, but the perception of it is within the reach of only a few. If you rest naturally with whatever manifests, without conscious striving, it is evident. The continuous display is the infinite expanse of Nirmanakaya. It is present in everything, clear in the arising of things. It is the pure expanse of self-knowing awareness, the miraculous display of wish-fulfilling qualities and activities, moreover, is nowhere else. Like turbid water, when the sediment settles, it becomes clear if you rest in the naturally pristine state. The truth of primordial purity is not found by being sought. Enlightenment, Buddhahood, is evident within the naturally occurring expanse. Since it has already been accomplished, there is no need to achieve it anew. This naturally abiding greatness is enlightened intent, the expanse that is the true nature of phenomenon. Make no effort concerning what is unchanging and spontaneously present. The timeless ground, the innately abiding ground, is the ground that is the very heart of enlightenment. Since it does not stray at all from the context that is its nature, do not stray from the lucid expanse that is the ultimate meaning of awareness. The reason that everything is ensured by being left as it is lies in the unchanging, ever present state of sovereign mastery, the five aspects of timeless awareness. The state of original Buddhahood, the five aspects, each of enlightened form, enlightened speech, enlightened mind, enlightened qualities, and enlightened activities, is spontaneously present within the beingness and endless expanse. Do not seek it elsewhere, for by nature it is timelessly ensured. Moreover, enlightenment, Dharmakaya, as experienced by all Buddhas, is none other than the ultimate meaning of unchanging equalness. And since it is spontaneously present within that naturally occurring context, do not seek it, do not try to achieve it. Completely let go of hope and fear. Even the naturally occurring timeless awareness of all ordinary beings is unmade and unsought, and spontaneously present as Dharmakaya, so do not react with rejection or acceptance, but rest in this context of basic space. Within the essence of being, spontaneous and uniform, unwavering and beyond deliberation, lies the spacious expanse of the ground of being, not created, yet ensuring all that has ultimate meaning. Unchanging and ever present, the embodiment of the Kayas and timeless awareness is the conferral of the supreme, naturally occurring empowerment, like the investiture of a royal hire. Since the universe of appearances and possibilities is timelessly and spontaneously present, there is no need for concerted effort, for it is spontaneously present by nature. Everything is ensured, unfolding as a supreme state of spontaneous presence. This is the seventh section of the precious treasury of the basic space of phenomenon, demonstrating that everything is timelessly and spontaneously present within awakened mind. So the seventh section of the precious treasury of basic space of phenomenon, is about presence. That third samaya, right? So one of the four samayas, and really going into that a little bit more than we may have seen before. So it's pretty cool. Again, it says things do not seek for it elsewhere. It is timelessly ensured. Um, let's see. Do not seek it. Do not try to achieve it. It goes over the three kayas, which is nice. See, it says here, awakened mind, timelessly spontaneous and uniform awareness. So just like space, they mean uniform. Stop it. Oy. Had to grab my kitty. So it does not require effort or achievement. That is its superiority. Although those in lower approaches strive through acceptance and rejection, they accomplish nothing for eons. You see, this really repeats the sentiment that I have because through my life as a Vajrayana Buddhist practitioner, um, I've gotten to see how people get caught, very intelligent people and very capable of Dzogchen, get caught in the causal vehicles. So that's the key distinction also, by the way, we're discussing uh, the difference between provisional and definitive texts. sutras and tantras, and yeah, it really points out, and that's why I think when you go into Dzogchen, you have to go into Dzogchen all the way. And for some reason, I feel like Namki Norbu did this, but very few people really step all the way in, purely into Dzogchen. And I think it's a problem in the Western degenerate sort of times that we're in. Um, so again, I feel like this just repeats that sentiment, and we don't have to conceptualize what timeless awareness is. We just have to familiarize with awareness and let it understand that this is your real mind. So, any comments, questions? Let's see. Cat keeps me on my toes.
Thank you for the reading.
Mm-hmm. Ah, my pleasure. Cool.
There's a um, the more I've been
Oh,
sort
1 second, Em. 1 second, please. Yes, keep recording, and unless somebody wants to share something that they need privacy for, then we'll turn it off for that person. No problem. You just let us know if you want to turn it off, and we will turn it off. Yes, she is very accommodating. So, otherwise, please, when you share your meditation stuff, it really benefits others. So please continue to share on the recordings. I know it's a little weird. I mean, I've gone 10 years without recording. I'm like kind of allergic to it, but yes, she's doing it with a good heart, good intention, and so I think this is okay. And I too am getting used to the recording, so don't worry. Everything can benefit beings in a major way to see what we're doing here. So please, if anybody wants to share, discuss, go right ahead.
I just wanted to share that I think I've been studying Dzogchen with you, Dawe, for 3 months, 2 months, 3 months, something like that. And yeah, the more I step into Dzogchen, the way you said, the sweeter my sits get, which is interesting because I've never experienced that before. So thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you. It's really the greatest gift. I'm not just saying it because all my teachers said it, but the greatest gift that you could give me or the group or the world is your practice. So thank you just as much. I'm very grateful. Okay, anybody else? The topic is spontaneous presence. We also lately have been talking about provisional and definitive truth. So in Dzogchen, they do have some provisional stuff in SEMD, where it's sort of sutra like, but still Dzogchen. And it's very easy. I can see how people think there's an external sort of God, and we begin to explore that through ineffability. That there is something that our mind mingles with that's really powerful. And one key thing Longchenpa said here that I don't know if any of you noticed. He said you could pray to it. I don't know if you remember me telling you that, but in that sense, there's really that we shouldn't have a big beef with theistic people because, uh, yeah, this is like your mind is that powerful. You could pray to it, I'm not a big prayer. I've been sort of turned off by the religious overlays, but praying is essentially just resting and there's with your heart speaking to the ineffable. And we think that we have all the power sometimes, and we have control and all this, but there is more energy out there that's bigger than us. Just the sun alone is way bigger than us. So that's just to name one thing. So I do think maybe that's my silly way of explaining that I do believe in prayer. Yeah, you could, so it's like you're praying to this ineffability, this ineffable cognizance. I don't really utilize that so much, but I feel like when I do, it works.
Sort
Maybe I
of
should
like
start
sort
utilizing
of
it more now since since Longchenpa said talked about it.
I mean, it's sort of like I think even I mean it's like a self relation essentially because it's I mean like even when you do deity practice and stuff like the deities are still your mind. They're like qualities of your own mind or images of your mind.
Yeah.
They're not like, you know, they're not like I mean they're deities, in a sense, yes, but they're also appearances. I remember Lamalina said that like someone asked her if Tara was real, and then she said Tara knows she isn't real. So it's I think with prayer it's probably a similar thing. Like, like circumstances when you put your attention intention on something, you know, those appearances can arise in a certain way. So I don't know. Maybe that's how it could work.
I
Yeah,
agree.
and Siraj, I just want to acknowledge Siraj's comment. I agree with you. Yeah, that was well put, Siraj. You encompassed that in a few sentences. Very nice.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, M.
Yes.
From a Jungian perspective. So um, I think we're Destin. I don't know if you said the word subconscious, but I was uh, like there was that element of you're basically talking to aspects of your subconscious mind, right? Did I understand you correctly when you said that?
Um, I guess I'm thinking of it maybe in a more productive way. I guess I don't like the whole subconscious thing only because I like to think that there's nothing hidden underneath, because then that makes you want to search for stuff. And I don't want to search for anything. I like to believe that everything is right here, right now. So I like to think that it's more of like this productive thing where it's like your attention, it's like in almost a sequential way. Like maybe, you put your attention on something and then experiences just start appearing, you know, or certain experiences, certain circumstances.
Yeah,
Um,
but in this case, I think there's a distinction we can make here. Tara is and things like that is more on a relative level. Ultimately, we can pray to ineffability. That's what Longchenpa is talking about, not appearances. He's talking about the actual Sambhoga Kaya aspect of the mind, not the display of the mind, but the cognizance itself. You could pray to that Dharmakaya, sort of Sambhoga Kaya.
yeah, I think you are praying to that when you evoke deities. Like I think you're always essentially praying to that. Like you're always
Right.
talking to your yeah, I guess that's what M was
But
saying. Like
this
in a
is
sense
definitely
you're
not
always
in the context of deities because that's outer tantra. Here, Longchenpa is strictly in the context of awareness.
yeah, I was just that was just like an example. I think that like the point I was really trying to make is that like I think the mechanism is just that like having this sort of like self relation with your mind and it generating appearances and
Yeah,
that's
but you're right. Like when they're praying to deities, they are praying to part of their own mind. At the same time, it's awareness, though. It's all awareness, right? So that
yeah,
they're still
exactly.
praying to awareness, whether they're in a Dzogchen sort of reference or outer tantra. Either way, it's the same, right? And that's why I think prayer can be very powerful for people, and why people, like that they believe in Jesus, they just have a belief in their head that makes them feel a certain way, especially when other people believe the same thing. If all of us believed in you know, three-horned unicorns, then every time we came here, we were like, "Oh man, the power of the three-horn unicorn." We'd all get excited, and we all believe in the same thing, and it's awesome. That's what this thought of a Jesus is just a thought in your head. Interestingly enough, Dignaga says conceptualization is the antithesis of liberation. So that means that belief in Jesus is actually the Antichrist. You see,
I
because
mean,
of
my
Wait,
sir,
Jesus.
wait, could you say
what?
that again?
Well, when you hold a belief in Jesus, it's a belief. It's a concept in your head, right? Can we agree on that?
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, Longchenpa quotes Dignaga as saying conceptualization is the the antithesis of liberation. So that makes a belief in Jesus the Antichrist.
Today I was talking to um
It's fucked up, ain't it?
today
Well,
I was
there goes the
talking to
recording. Sorry, go
today I
ahead.
was talking to Yeshi about like just my experiences in like different Buddhist maybe like yeah, spaces or circles over the years, and how I always tend to just like leave them after a while. I'm always just like, "Mm, I don't think we're doing the same thing." Because one thing I noticed is that I was saying that they really perform Buddhism well. Like and sometimes in this very like stereotypical, or I would want to say like, sometimes I wonder if they love the image or the doctrine more than actually working to realizing it. Like sometimes it feels like they're satisfied with just loving the Buddha. And I'm like, for me at least, when I see it and what comes up in me is like, but why don't you want to really do it though? Like, don't you really want it's not here for you to love. It's here for you to realize. I mean, love it afterwards, but realize it first. And
Yeah.
I think that goes with what you're talking about with like conceptualization and getting lost in like the images and the idols of like the doctrine and not really working towards the point of it.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. It like my interpretation of it is really close to yours, Destin. Like
Mhm.
I think one thing that I just wanted to add, uh, it's sort of a tangent, but it ties in. Uh, One of the differences between Freud and Carl Jung is that Freud talked about the subconscious and Jung talked about the unconscious, as in the collective unconscious. And a big difference between each individual, each thinker's concept of the subconscious or the unconscious was that the subconscious was just a part of your mind, and that's where all your suppressed thoughts and emotions and urges. That's where you kind of squashed it, so it became kind of garbage dump from Freud's point of view for all of your suppressed energies. But from Jung's point of view, the unconscious was a lot richer than that. And the reason he called it the unconscious was because he explicitly didn't draw a line between the individual and the environment. So the unconscious, theoretically, it contains everything that you're not conscious about. So that includes, suppressed images, suppressed memories, suppressed fantasies. That definitely includes that. But the unconscious also includes stuff like what's going on behind the back of your head, or what's in your neighbor's house, or what was happening in New York City 100 years ago. So all of those are also included in the broadest definition of the collective unconscious. So if you think about it that way, then if you're praying to these entities, yeah, in one sense, it's all happening inside your brain or your mind. But in another very real sense, where is the boundary of your mind? Like, where exactly does it stop, and where does not mind begin? And that's not a very clear or crisp boundary. In fact, the boundary might not be real.
Mm. Yeah, thank you. That was really great. Um, there's a concept. I mean, the concept of the collective unconscious has made, I think, many appearances like throughout the history of like maybe ideas, I guess. But at least in Buddhism, um, the Alaya Vijnan is sort of is the storehouse consciousness or like where karma is imprinted. And like those are where like seeds, ripen and or planted and that's kind of like where all your habitual tendencies are stored up essentially. It's very similar to yeah, what we know now today as like the collective unconscious from psychoanalysis. Um yeah. And then I was also gonna say, yeah, Dawe mentioned something earlier too about like the power of like collective belief. And yeah, it's very true, like in a very just like regular degular experience. Like if you've ever been inside a church, it's very interesting to be there because in a sense, like, yeah, they're just objects, right? Like they're just artifacts or wood or metal or whatever material they made out of. But at the same time, it's very interesting because we don't perceive that. What we perceive is meaning. And like the meaning sort of spiritualizes all the objects. And the meaning's not generated just like by you. It's because everyone in your entire history has contributed to the way that these materials are handled and spoken about and interacted with. And it really does leave this like heavy energy when you walk into a church, like like it's very heavy. Or even in simpler cases, like even when you hear someone make a misstep and like it's like socially, like you get this weird ick feeling, but it's because of the way that like the whole entire collective values this particular phrase or this particular sequence of social interaction. So yeah, collective belief is like, I mean, yeah, it's kind of like in some sense the context through which like we make our judgments and stuff.
Yeah, that was really well said. Yeah, yeah, makes sense. The LA Vijnana is interesting too. I don't know enough about it, but that that link, it all ties together. It feels like even in Dzogchen, we're constantly dealing with the boundary between the ineffable and the effable, or at least in my own journey, I've been dealing with that boundary because I keep wanting to explain things, and
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
When I was listening to Longchenpa, I guess this is me sharing an experience or meditation experience or whatever. But like there's just this like when just hearing him speak, like I'm I'm like, yeah, the confidence in a non-fixated mind. Just like just where you were talking about explaining it and stuff like that, but like the confidence in knowing why you can't explain it, you know? Like there like like an ease with you not even being able to explain it because you know exactly why you can't, you know? It's I think that's like in a that kind of makes things or everything feels lighter that way kind of thing. Um
mm,
Maybe even when you try to explain things or when you try to, it's more fun, you know? Because there's different ways that you can put it and different analogies, different metaphors, like in art, it doesn't maybe have to be so, you know, you don't maybe have to worry so much about the accuracy, but maybe interesting ways that you can sort of, but then I guess that takes really knowing, right? Maybe first you'd have to really, really be with that non-fixated mind, like really
yeah,
just like be there and then, it'll all flow kind of easily sort of thing. Like it'll be easy to think of new metaphors and new analogies and stuff. But I think that's the way that even like trying to explain things, the possibilities for it are blown wide open with a mind that just, and I'm even using the word mind, but it's really this and it's not even mind. It's like just complete non fixation. I've been using that's the word I've been using for like a whole week now, but it's the only word that I can really use to like capture how it feels.
Non-fixation. So there's no reference point. There's no center of reference. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, like just, you know.
Hmm.
I know every time I say it, I always like just get quiet there. I'm always like, and I do a hand movement you can't see, but it's so funny.
Remember
But
that it's okay. There's basically just like, for example, in Tibetan, they have two languages basically: the language that they speak commonly to each other, and then the Dharma Tibetan, which is a little bit of a different vocabulary. So the same goes for when we're talking about things causally in a sort of provisional way, or we can talk about them in a definitive way. But we know that the words and metaphors are all, going to come up short. So knowing that, just freely use words, and that's what the code is actually. You'll be able to read through the code of these words and be okay. But we have to be able to talk about it, right? So that's exactly what Longchenpa, for example, in this basic space of phenomenon says that your mind is like space, and space can't be really described. So even if the metaphor leads to the indescribable, imagine what the actual mind is. It's also indescribable. You know, they use metaphors that are essentially like comparing it to space means you can't find it and all this stuff. But even space is just a metaphor that's not even close to what you're seeing, so to speak.
mm,
Yeah.
yeah.
Somehow the maxim speech is, somehow the maxim silence is golden comes to mind. That's an old one from all sorts of traditions. And there's a little twist to that, which is silence is golden, but speech is silver. And there's a little thing there because speech is valuable, but it's not as valuable as gold. And I find that, yeah, like exactly what happens to Destin. You sort of, I'll get to a certain point, and then the words just become a hindrance. But how do you get your point across without the words?
It's funny. I was reading something today on wisdom, although in a different context. But it's funny because if you could think of, words are funny. If you could think of words, like imagine you have just this white canvas and then you mark, right? Black ink, on the white canvas. That mark makes both the canvas and the word visible. When you make that distinction, it makes both of them come up. But it's really interesting because it makes both of them come up in an interesting way. When you put that distinction, you always recognize that the words fall short, and you always recognize that the canvas can't be described. And it's always so funny because then you can just erase the mark again and you don't really lose anything.
Hmm.
But it's really yeah, yeah, words are like that. Words are like, these markings on a white canvas. And as you keep marking them, you always realize how they keep falling short, so to speak, because they're just marks, finite, arbitrary, imputed, whatever. And then, you know, the more you do it, you realize the more and more that you can't really say anything about anything. That's really interesting. But anyway, you know, if I were to analogize like what I was saying before or something, yeah, I think, you know, not not having a mind on anything or just not having, just nothing to, it's just nothing to, there's nothing to really, it's like a empty room, so to speak, just an empty room. Someone wanted to speak. I don't know who.
It was Jetson.
Eh, I'm just gonna ask that I don't have a problem with any of the what's going on, but let's try to have one conversation at a time. just so everybody's included, and then we don't get too derailed. Let's whatever whoever's speaking, we can practice just being with that. You know, um, that's part of this non-distraction stuff. Okay, so if we're typing while somebody's speaking, that's is not really, in my opinion, ideal.
My apologies. Noted.
No, yeah, no worries. Just sort of sharing, and I think it also, because I want to give full attention to everybody, and I don't want to miss anything. We shall be like that. So Jetson, please go ahead.
Oh, I just wanted to mention that that Seminary Jayasara YouTube channel had a new Longchenpa video today um, called "Now That I Come to Die," as Longchenpa's final advice to his students, I guess.
We should listen to that together, huh?
Yeah,
She's been on a
That
bit of a
sounds
Dzogchen spree.
interesting. I really want to hear what his last words were.
Yeah, she's been on a Longchenpa spree recently. I think the last 5 or 10 recordings have all been Longchenpa.
He's a powerful Ani.
He's the main man.
yeah. I was listening to it and then noticed it had only been posted like an hour earlier. Already had 500 views.
Wow, great.
Oh, I
That's
was
good.
actually gonna say, looking at the YouTube video, what gets the most views are actually the Longchenpa readings or any readings.
Because we
Like you
share
got
'em.
like, yeah, you got like 200 on those. So I can see a oh, I'm just noticing a pattern of like what draws attention. But
Right,
that's
but
fine.
the views come from when the video is shared. Because, for example, the yoga video that I did, I shared that one, and it has like over 150 views.
Mm.
And that's why if you like one of the videos that we are publishing, feel free to share it. I feel like it also helps people discover the group, and if people are ready for Dzogchen, then they'll have a place to hang out. And really, any meditation, but like Longchenpa was just saying in the seventh section today, Hatha Yoga Dzogchen really complements all the other approaches, and there should be no real division there, except for just understand when you're in the causal context and when you're in the resultant context. I remember one time I was trying to help somebody out online, and I said, really, the distinction between Dzogchen and everything else is that everything else is causal, and Dzogchen doesn't have cause and effect. And I got so much pushback from that and downvoted and everything. So I know it sounds sometimes a little bit new or contrary to the popular approaches, but I'm pretty certain this is the way that it should be done.
Can you go into why it's acausal? Because I understand if you're looking at it from the point of view of the basic space, then there is no causality within basic space, but it does feel dissatisfactory or unsatisfactory to yeah, it sort of feels unsatisfactory because then isn't causality still the thing that's moving the mind to observe that basic space? I mean, the observation is happening in mind, right?
No, that's the great misconception, maybe. It's actually a setting aside of causes, a setting aside of effort and doing. And that's why you need so much sort of previous Dharma experience to get the Dzogchen usually, or some kind of stability practices. Your mind cannot be bouncing around and distracted and preoccupied and fixated, because when somebody points you to the nature of your mind, you won't be able to see it. You'll be too distracted. Or if you do a lot of unethical things, sort of unethical is a causal. thing, then you'll be in shame and you'll be in regret, and then also you won't be able to see the nature of your mind because you're doing. There's doingness that's blocking you from that moment of pure non-duality. You cannot have that recognition if you don't even have if you can't even stop for 1 second for somebody to point you to it. You got to be able to have a long enough pause to see the nature of mind, and then even if you see it, you can get pulled back in very easily. That's why I recommend people stick with it. If you think you're starting to see the nature of mind or familiarizing with it, then really stick with it. Otherwise, it's very easy to get pulled back in. But make no mistake, this is the unconditioned part of your mind. So familiarizing it consists of just keep getting out of the way. When you're doing, when you're thinking, when you're trying to come up with conceptual conclusions about all this, remember the four samayas, and keep coming into this place of rest. Just rest without trying to figure it out. Rest without doing things like telling yourself that you're not there yet, telling yourself that this feeling that you're having is unsatisfactory. You have to tell yourself that. The feeling itself is just raw energy, but you have to label it and give it meaning, and then it becomes unsatisfactory. In Dzogchen, there's no labeling and giving meaning to this, just energy. Just let it be energy. Let it be ineffable. Even if you used to call it sadness, you used to call it unsatisfactory. Now you're calling it Dzogchen.
Hmm. I, I see it more clearly, but
Nice.
still, there's still the
See how you had to wait for a second for your thinking mind to tell you that it's not all perfect? And then really, I could sit here and feel as your thinking mind had to, you're like, I see for a second, but then, and this is what I'm always trying to tell you guys, this happens. As soon as you see the natural state, your mind tries to apprehend it and think about it and conceptualize it. That's exactly like you were at a point just now of non-conceptualization, and then you had to actually go back into imperfection.
oh. Oh, okay. So it's non-causal in the sense that causality is just fabrication, is mental fabrication.
Hi, little bear. Little bear. It's like right in my face.
Yeah, I saw that. He's
I
like,
think he needs to go outside 1 second, okay?
yep.
Yeah, mental fabrication is for sure cause and effect. I mean, in the in the causal vehicles, what we call mental fabrication doesn't exist in Dzogchen.
Because it's just a display of the mind.
Yeah, thoughts aren't even conceptualizing. We have no problems with any of this stuff. It's just energetic display. It's responsiveness. It's the response of our so-called subconscious and sort of they have all these words for it that have connotations that seem like it's hidden, like it's not there. And I take the same objective as Destin did, that I don't like this idea that there's this part of the mind that's not there. In Dzogchen, it's all there. Everything's there. Just the thinking mind will cloud this entire cognizance and only encapsulate you into its little thinking world. And so many philosophers and scientists and psychologists, that's their limitations. They're encapsulated by thought. They have no idea that there's a cognizance outside of that capsule. And so that's where the Buddhas and many great yogis, they have tapped into a cognizance that's outside of that capsule of thought alone. And we really, as sort of babies, we really depend on the thinking mind and conceptual mind for a while, but we have to learn to let it go and understand that what we know as concepts and thoughts, those are constantly being informed by a higher intelligence, a larger scope, a larger field of cognizance. And we don't want to trust it because we can't find it. It doesn't exist, and it's mysterious and wide open and infinite. And so it's very hard to stabilize the conditioned mind, you can't stabilize the conditioned mind in that. The conditioned mind just goes away in the presence. And so with that, you lose your training wheels, you lose your comfort zone. It's very scary. But then you start getting used to that feeling of total freedom and the unknown. You start getting used to, my mind doesn't have. I'm really trying to save this mouse right now. I don't want it. I don't want the kitty to get it.
Kitty's so aggressive about it too. Like she wants that mouse.
Badly. She gets mad when I take it away from her. But I mean, the mice are generally understanding. It's kind of nice not to have mouse poop all over my stuff, and
Hmm.
you know, so she hasn't even killed. She killed one, and that's it. The others are most of the mice are smart. They smell the cat and they stay away right now. I'm very thankful for that because I wasn't sure if there was going to be a massacre or not, but they rolled out and they're safe. But one or two keeps coming around thinking that they're fast, but this cat is faster. And lucky right now she's a baby, so she's not able to kill him right away or hurt him so badly. But that's not going to last much longer. Her claws are going to get bigger. Anyway, I am totally detouring here. Just you guys know me as fully in the session usually. Just know that I'm a little distracted because I don't like the cat killing the mice. If I can avoid that, I will.
Thank you for the explanation. I yeah that yeah you pointed out something. Thank you.
Very good, yeah. And
I got
and
a
yeah. Mhm.
no. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, it's good to really continue to come back into ineffability to the I don't know mind, especially if you're very intelligent. Um, my dog will have an easier time recognizing awareness than you guys because you guys are so intelligent. you know, that intelligence can really serve as a hindrance. Let me let dog, but then if you can make it past that, okay. See you. Nice talk. M is leaving. Uh, all right. Anybody else want to comment on anything? Yeah, come on, puppies. Come on, Tank. Come on. Goodness. Everybody good? Okay. Well, thank you so much for this wonderful gathering. We'll do a dedication of merit, okay? Okay, so through this gathering of yogis and uh, a silent sit, plus reading Longchenpa and having the Dharma talk, whatever merit that we got, whatever realization or benefit, we dedicate that to all sentient beings. Gewa Magin Yoru Allah. Gewa Magin Yoru Allah. Gewa Magin Yoru Allah. Deep bow to you, my friends. Please have a beautiful night and good rest. Okay. Bye.